Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Ms. Sivamalar Chinnappan, Ms.Samantha Misra-Gani, Mr. Sashil Mena, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, namaskar and welcome to our 19th episode of our program, India A Feeling. This is an online travelogue series. Today we have two wonderful guests who will be taking part on this program. Our first speaker is going to be Ms. Sivamalar Chinnappan. She is a departmental head of languages at Arena Park Secondary School in Chatsworth. Now allow me to invite Ms. Sivamalar Chinnappan. Over to you, ma'am.
Vanakkam and good morning to everybody. It gives me great pleasure to narrate my experiences in the beautiful country, India. I have visited India 3 times and found it to be a fascinating and captivating country. My first trip was a short one in 1993 with a fellow teacher friend only to Delhi and Agra. That was the first time I set eyes on the magical, mystical Taj Mahal. Although it was a short trip, it whet my appetite to want to go back and explore the rest of India. My second trip was in 1997 with my mother and my aunt. This was a 6-week holiday, and this is when we really experienced the beauty, spirituality, and culture of India. Our tour started in the north at Delhi, where we visited the pristine parliament buildings and enjoyed the most delicious prawn biryani at the famous Delhi Darbar. We really enjoyed that. We made another trip to Agra. For me, it was my second time, passing the Red Fort. And there, on our way to the Red Fort, we witnessed the Cobra Dances. My mother was terrified because she doesn't like snakes, but it was so good to see how well trained those cobras were. And this was on our way to Taj Mahal. Here, I once again marveled at this great monument of love and one of the 7 wonders of the world. My amma, which is what we call our mother in Tamil, and aunt were in awe of the story behind the Taj and the intricate architecture. From Agra, we proceeded to Varanasi, where we checked into the most beautiful hotel. We were actually driving from the airport through very rural areas, and suddenly we came upon this huge hotel, which was absolutely beautiful in the setting of a rural place. The visit to the holy Ganges River was truly memorable. We marveled at the size of the river and the spirituality that prevailed at this most famous river. It was a bit of a dull day, and they took us out actually onto the boat. We couldn't even see the other bank of the river. That's how wide the Ganges River is. We also in Varanasi saw the weaving of the beautiful Banaras saris. My mother and my aunt only wear saris. Right through India, they only wear in their saris, and they were so excited to see how their beautiful Banaras saris were weaved in this ancient town of Varanasi. Then it was down south to Chennai. We fell in love with this bustling city. The speaking of the Tamil language by everyone was just too amazing to us, as we are Tamilian South Africans. Listening especially to the little children and the youth speak my mother tongue, Tamil, was really impressive. We had booked a 10-day tour of the south of India and embarked on this with great excitement. We visited Trichy, Tirupati, Sidambaram, Rameshwaram, Kanyakumari, Ooty, Mysore, and Bangalore. Bangalore for us felt like home because the city is so much like Durban, minus the sea, of course. My Amma was most excited to visit the ancient temples. She is presently the deputy guru at our temple, and visiting the India temples, which are mentioned in our Hindu scriptures, was the highlight for her and the two of us as well. The hotels we stayed at were clean and comfortable. This is now down south. And the people of the south were truly warm and friendly. One thing that stood out for me in these cities and towns and little villages was that education was of utmost importance. Girls in their Punjabis, sitaras, and the boys in their vesties went diligently to school. For me, it was just too cute because I'm used to the strict uniform here in South Africa. To see them in the Indian garb was really, really exciting for me. And whomever we spoke to, they said that education was the key to progress in their lives. Back in Chennai, we also had the pleasure of attending a few concerts held during the Carnatic Music Festival. I also come from a musical family. My uncles, my dad played the violin, the harmonium, my cousins played the tabla. I also play the harmonium. So we wanted to go to a few of the concerts. This was also a very great experience, especially to listen to the young up-and-coming artists they had in those festivals, as well as the established famous Carnatic singers and musicians. We spent 2 weeks in Chennai, especially to have a song and prayer book printed in Tamil and English. This book was composed by my mother for use by devotees at our Siddhivinayaga Sangam in Overport, Durban. The printers who were introduced to us by Mr. Gopinath Senior, that time we traveled with three Murthy's tours, they did a fantastic job. My mother and I did the proofreading and we stayed at the Woodlands Hotel in Chennai, very close to Saravanas, where I must say we enjoyed very, very tasty thali meals. And so we made arrangements to have copies printed of this book and sent back to South Africa. If I can just show you a small picture. This is the book that we had in India printed because my temple is a Vinayagar temple. So we had this proofread by the Indian printers there. And to date, I must say, all the members of our Sangam are busy using this book. The last leg of our holiday was a train trip from Chennai to Mumbai. It was very, very long, but we decided to do that because our tour guide said it's very nice to experience the villages in a train trip. And wow, what an experience. Seeing the paddy fields and the villages was really an eye-opener. The local people, not wealthy, but they worked so hard and were content and happy with what they had. We actually witnessed old ladies, sorry about that. We witnessed old ladies and ayahs, who we call in our language, with their saris tied up 3/4 way on the roof, fixing the roof and doing the work around there, exactly what the men would do. They used to work so hard. It was really good to see them. And sometimes us, we are a bit lazy, but when we saw those people work so hard, it really put us to shame. So we were back. When we came back to Mumbai, to Chennai, sorry, we did some shopping in the bustling markets of Mumbai. And then we returned home very, very exhausted after 6 weeks, but so much richer after our visit to our mother India. Then 20 years later, in 2017, was my next trip to India with my Amma again. And this time it was with my sister and brother-in-law. Wow, what a change in the country. Many cities were modernized now, but still kept its core beauty and charm. Mumbai had expanded so much. A city tour with a guide was a very old lady with a walking stick. We actually wondered when she got into that taxi, what is she going to tell us? But my, what a wealth of knowledge from her. She enlightened us about the history, the schools, and the buildings in Mumbai. The shopping at the markets and the designer shops was the highlight for my sister, as she works in retail in South Africa. The boutique shops can compare to the best in the world, yet at affordable prices. My brother-in-law works in transport, and he was amazed and intrigued by the traffic in India, especially the tuk-tuk and those big colorful trucks. When I had told him that in my previous trips, I saw 6 modes of transport on the road at one time, he did not believe me. Then he saw the bicycle, the scooter, the tuk-tuk, the motor car, the truck, the car wagon on the road. He was absolutely amazed. And then what was more amazing, when we spoke to some of the locals, they said there was a very, very low rate of accidents on the roads of India. Everybody with their hooter, and they passed you, and they each know how to go and weave into the traffic. It was just too marvelous to watch. The Elephanta Caves was another wonderful place that we visited, and also the mosques. And even in Chennai, when we came back, we visited the churches there. So we did not only do temples, we visited the great mosques and the churches in India. We then traveled to Rishikesh in northern India. What a wonderful place to visit. Here we stayed at a hotel on the river Ganges. What a peaceful and serene place. Witnessing the Aarti at sunset by the many rishis and yogis and the gurus was so, so spiritual. Also, releasing the diyas into the water was so spiritually uplifting for us. We then traveled to Delhi. I saw real advances in the city. Modern buildings were up, cleaner streets, and the rivers too had been cleaned up. And shopping in Delhi, of course, the Delhi markets, and tasting the street food. The first time we were a little bit skeptical not to eat anywhere on the street, but the wonderful guides that we had, my brother-in-law wanted to taste what was being made on the streets. And we had the freshest, most tastiest jalebi recommended by our guide. So it's hot from the oil and into our mouths. We also purchased very aromatic spices from the markets of Delhi. Our last stop on this trip was Chennai. I was gobsmacked. The airport, firstly, remember this was 20 years later for me. The airport was huge and absolutely beautiful. The roads were wide and well kept. And there was one bridge which I will never forget. I think it was coming from the airport or going to the airport, that actually goes into the sea. The bridge goes into the sea. So you're traveling above the sea and then comes back out onto back to the airport. That was absolutely marvelous. We also enjoyed much sari shopping. My sister was the shopper and my brother-in-law. And we bought a lot more saris here. And of course, the delicious meals once again. I had to take my sister to have the Pali veg again at Saravana restaurant, which was really, really enjoyable. Now, the main reason for this trip actually was to fulfill my mother's dream to visit the ancient Anomaly temple. This was a gift for her 80th birthday. So we drove from Chennai to Anomaly, and this was an absolutely glorious ride. We witnessed the villages once again and the beautiful, beautiful landscape. Coming into Anomaly and looking at that mountain was just too good for us. The hotel was in such a serene setting that we stayed at in Anomaly. And they were ladies who served us the most delicious food. And we had soothing massages. And we had mehndi applied to our hands, beautiful mehndi, flowers in our hair, dressed up just like how the locals would dress up. At this hotel as well, we witnessed an Italian couple, and they had their wedding there. And this wedding was done in the full Indian style, with the bridegroom and the bride all dressed with our Indian regalia. And they had a full Indian wedding. And they were so excited also to have experienced the culture of India. And when we spoke to some of the people there, they said that that place was very famous for the destination weddings. Many people came there and had their weddings there. The visit to the Anomaly temple was awe-inspiring. The architecture was so intricate and it was huge. My mother was really, really excited to have set foot in this holy place and to have her prayer and say her prayer at this temple. It was really, really special to experience this as a family as well. Back in Chennai, we did some final shopping. We witnessed the people making such beautiful garlands on the streets. We also thread garlands for our temple, and watching them, how fast they thread the garland and put those beautiful fresh flowers, it was absolutely fascinating. We actually bought these huge needles where they have about 10 flowers where they can thread at a time. And we brought that back for the ladies at our temple that are threading normally every week, they thread garlands. Once again, the spirituality of this city, Chennai, really resonated with us. The guides that we had were really good and well informed, and they really took us to places that we wanted to see. I must say the people of India were welcoming, warm, and very, very accommodating. I would definitely recommend a holiday to this remarkable land. I myself, God willing, that there's no more COVID, I would want to go back to visit, especially Kerala, Goa, Pondicherry, and my dream is to visit Mount Kailas. As you can see from my name, Sivamalar means a flower to Lord Siva. So Mount Kailas is the place where they say in our scriptures is where Lord Siva came down and where he placed his foot at. So I would really like to visit Mount Kailas. I want to thank you all for this opportunity, and God bless and Vanakkam.
Thank you, Sivamalaji. Thank you very much, ma'am, for narrating such a wonderful story about your journey in India. You know, you visited India 3 times now, you know, so that's why your stories are very rich. So Sivamalaji, Dhanyavad, ma'am, thank you very much. Now allow me to proceed now with our program. Now we are going to play the Incredible India video. Thank you.
Spice boxes say so much about us and how we like to cook. Saffron, also known as kesar, grows in the meadows of the high Himalayas of Kashmir. Its Ayurvedic properties make it a prized spice in the bitter winters. Turmeric is an iconic spice. The yellow root is considered auspicious, adding its golden hue to Indian food. Bhoot Jhulakia or Naga Mirchi is grown in most parts of northeast India. It can scorch the palate if not handled with care. Black pepper is the queen of spices and is grown on vines across Kerala. It's highly valued for its medicinal properties. The Indian spice box is the crown of every kitchen. It can transform your meal from the ordinary to the sublime.
Incredible India.
The video was very good. Thank you for such a wonderful video. Now allow me to call Ms.Samantha Misra-Gani. She is a departmental head at Gilead's Primary School in Hillcrest. Over to you, Ms. Samantha Misra-Gani.
Namaste, everybody. I have to say that I'm a keen traveler, and yet India always stands out as being such an amazing country. I've been to this country 4 times, and each time was for a different reason and purpose. It seemed like India just called me to enrich me even further. My first trip was in December 93, January 94, and it was for about 6 weeks. And the reason I traveled to India that first time was to actually complete my studies in Kathak dancing. And I'm so grateful to our forefathers who brought as much of the culture and customs and rituals from India. They brought it to South Africa, and we've managed to maintain it. And yet, sometimes there's just the finer details that we need, and we need to go back to our motherland. And that is the reason I went on my first trip. And I got an opportunity to learn under Sri Nataraj Gopi Krishna. He is one of the historical leaders and founders in Kathak classical dancing in India. And I belong to the Nateshwar Dance Academy, and my guru, Smita Maharaj, had at that time, back in the day, she had managed yearly to go and study under him. But, you know, we had this opportunity with the first lot of girls that we think there were 12 of us that went to India just to study dance. And our days were filled with 3 hours of classical dancing in the morning. We had a break for 2 hours, and then we would do 3 hours of Bollywood dancing, because of course, back in the 90s, I mean, Bollywood dancing was just coming up at that point, and all the young girls wanted to start learning. So that was under Bhushan Lakandri in Juhu. And I have to say, as a youngster going to India, it was, I was completely gobsmacked by the experience. It was completely different from my country. There was so much of sounds and smells and experiences all around. And we got to meet, you know, at the restaurants. You just go to a restaurant and you meet somebody like Mahesh Bhatt, who is such a famous filmmaker. And then at the dance hall where we had our rehearsals, we would find that in the next studio, we've got somebody like Saif Ali Khan rehearsing his dance. So we were completely, you know, we were like total fans of India on that first trip. I have to say, though, it was extremely tiring. We were not there on a tour. We were not there to see the different parts of India. We were just there for the knowledge of classical dancing. And I feel that I'm very, very blessed to have had that first experience with Gopiji. It was actually, we got back to South Africa, and a month later, he had passed away. And I don't think that if I had not gone at that time, I would have missed out on such a wonderful experience of some of the great talent that India has, especially in the cultural part of it. And we did manage to have one weekend where we got to go to Goa. And I have to say, Goa is one of those proper holiday destinations with beautiful beaches and that relaxed atmosphere. And people are as friendly as ever in India. And they, I've been to other countries where you would not experience that sort of love and care. They don't know you, and they will still try to help you, assist you, and share with you. My second trip was in 2006, and this was also for a completely different reason. We were actually asked, as a dance school, we were asked to perform at the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. This is held on the 9th of January yearly, and it's to celebrate the Indians that are living out of India, who have contributed to India in some way. And our dancers and my dance school were invited by the Indian consulate to perform in India. We had the experience of going to Hyderabad and performing there with local talent as well. We were asked to perform in Delhi, in Jaipur, and the biggest celebration for me was the fact that we got to share our South African story with the Indians in India. And our dance drama was called Sangharsh, and it was about the Indian struggle in South Africa. But what it created in India was this bond with everybody that we met. We performed at different places, and we were hosted by the most incredible people. And we are shown so much of love during that time that I can never forget it. And if I had an opportunity again to have that sort of experience, because it was interacting with people on a different level. It wasn't just everybody ordinary. It was people in government that we got to meet. We got to go to the textile factories where they were making things. So we had the full experience of India in a different way. My third trip was in 2011, and this was a family trip. So this was with my brother and my mom, my nieces. And this was a trip where it was a proper tourist trip where I got to see different places, whether it was Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, Udaipur, Pushkar, Shimla. We went to Mount Abu, and India is incredible, truly incredible. The people, the places. One of my most special memories was the fact that we were in Shimla, and obviously it was December, and the people, they said, you know, sometimes it snows here in Shimla, and I had never experienced snow. And there we were at the cinema watching Dawn 2, which was just released, and the cinema became really very cold, and all of us were like, why did they put the air cons on? You know, what's wrong? And we get out of the movie house and we see it snowing. It was just the best moment that I can remember. We had to stay one more night in Shimla because of the snow. And it was something that, wow, it just blew me away. Other things that we did, you know, going to the Golden Temple in Amritsar, we spent New Year's Eve there, and New Year's Day we went back. I got a lovely opportunity to go and help to stir the pot and cook the food for people that's provided every day. And, you know, the energy and the vibration at these spiritual temples and places are just something that you have to go there to experience. You won't get it anywhere else. Then I have to say that you cannot go to India on a tourist trip without doing certain things. Like, for example, you have to taste the barfi at a place called Nattu's Sweets in Delhi. You have to try it there. You have to go to the Haji Ali juice bar and have a juice from there, or their famous sandwich. These things you're not going to get anywhere else in the world. And on one of our trips, we went to Jalandhar, and we ate a thali at the Haveli there. And I know there are other restaurants, the Haveli restaurants in different parts of India, but my gosh, this restaurant was just incredible. It was like you were entering another world with the big bus or truck that's there in the entrance hall, and the little statues that are everywhere, and of course the thalis that came there with the most delicious food ever. So these kind of things you're not going to get anywhere. My very special moment was when we traveled to Mount Abu, and we went to the Raj Yoga Center there, which is a meditation center. And to be there in that energy and to feel what I felt there, it was a very, very emotional moment. I know it's not too much of a touristy place, but my family wanted to go there because we have done the Raj Yoga meditation course, and we wanted to visit that place very much. My last trip was in 2013, and yet again, a very different experience, because this time it was only friends going. And during all these years, we've made a lot of friends in India. We've made a lot of comrades in the dance field. And it's about sharing knowledge, sharing vision, sharing our information about cultures. And so this trip was purely to be with friends, to spend time, to visit places that they wanted to show us, and to interact with families of theirs. So it was very much a friends and family kind of moment in my last trip. And if you ask me if I'm going to go to India again, then I would say yes, definitely. My husband has not been as yet, and that's one trip that I would like to make with him. He has a passion to go to Rajasthan, and the reason is he loves the Rajasthani culture and customs and their music. And so definitely I will be back. I am completely blessed to have had all my experiences, and I have gained so much knowledge, so much information, so much love from India, and I will definitely be back. Namaste.
Dhanyavad, Samantha ji, for that wonderful stories that, I saw on your face also. You still cherishing those moments of you in India. I can see when you speak about India, you just glow. So Samantha, thank you very much, G, for all the narration that you did this evening. So we have come now to the end of our program. Firstly, allow me to thank our online guest, Ms. Samantha Misra-Gani ji, Dhanyavad ma'am, and also to Ms. Sivamalar Chinnappan ji for for being with us this evening and also narrating such a wonderful stories about India. So to both of you, Dhanyavad, thank you very much. To Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Mr. Sashil Mena. Allow me to say to these two wonderful people, thank you very much for taking part on today's program. And to all our online participants who took part on today's program, we like to say Dhanyavad for taking part on today's program. And for more information about the cultural activities organized by Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Devon, you are kindly advised to visit Facebook page called ICCR in Devon. Once again, to our online guest, Ms. Samantha Misra-Gani ji, Dhanyavad ma'am, and also Sivamalar Chinnappan ji, Dhanyavad ji. To all of you, have a wonderful evening. Namaskar.